Okay, now I got 17 minutes on the dock. Working to not be rushed. It's a it's a gorgeous thing to reach certain pockets of tranquility, etc. And what will fleet, be it whatever, and what won't fleet within your good timings and patience. May we conjure up a secret balance to even ironically enhance whatever is ultimately destined to work with us in the future. Because whatever is destined to work with us in the future, we have to have like some type of energy relationship where it's a win-win on both sides. But to feel less rushed and to touch up the videos, the times that we're in, there's different like contexts of it, because just because there could be a hype within tech, hype within the material technology, human technology, different and coming together, there's still like like casual like different agendas, and we're not realizing where all the agendas are coming from, and maybe it's in one big ass video game. For us to be like so far away from the realization of how different agendas could operate and function from however they're even started and rooted and maintained for whatever deeper reason. But aside from like the 16 godheads, maybe there's seven prime like energetic subconscious emotions, and 16 plus 7 is 23 if I'm not mistaken. So within that there's like this 23 dynamic of like what we could be super susceptible to just on a round basis level, because we're all working with these archetypical themes that lean towards like different consciousnesses or just dispositions of states of energy and emotion. So since we're in this supposed heaven on earth time, more or less, obviously that's spread out and spread in individually, subjectively, and collectively, objectively at different rates for all of us, because we're not all there, but we could go up and down and forget and remember and share whatever we came to share with this particular place of an experiment. Like seeing the reason why you're here, because we're still working through trying to break limitations of different challenges. So with all that being said, it's like the different voices within our head, these like seven main prime emotions, they could have secret exaltations of how they got transmuted in a different plane, but we're just not with the solution. We're just have a unique, respectively, quote unquote, neutral to material procreation of emotions, but or stubbornness, and within that stubbornness, end quote, we're like on a different secret pathway. We're going away from like the solution within different niches and nuances of how we could just casually, on a casual to not so casual level, not be with the real optimality of the real spirituality and everything that comes after that, and not being with the real optimality of the real intelligence on the real speak, like me speaking like this, like who knows how long, but just for me to track it within my own like whatever, just because like that's what the fucking ego does, and us ironically trying to solve the fucking ego respectively, excuse my language. And within all that being said, it's like who are like who's really the voices, who's really the voices in our heads. It's how we're being susceptible to a grand emotion, and how we're just like, that's a part of us and it's being festered into us, and from that original emotional pool a certain spawn of underlings, quote unquote, context demon, depending on this main seven emotions, are created. So there's in one quote unquote theory there could be seven main context demons, and we're all micro aspects of that, because we all have this detrimental emotional body, the shadow emotional body, and within that shadow emotional body, that's the shadow work they could be talking about. But that emotional shadow work is not the spiritual shadow work, because the spiritual shadow work, it's talking about the pure dark energy that we're not necessarily going towards within our actuality of what we're like, you know, subscribing to, with what we're ultimately, quote unquote, on a subtle to non-subtle level, casually and neutrally, most respectively, most hyperhygienically. We're not realizing what we're selling our soul to, from a subtle to non-subtle to a casual to non-casual level. And may that be transmuted however it is done, so is the trick and the real liberty. Because I'm transcending, like, you know what, the misunderstanding of what, like, even respectively what Gita says, like, oh yeah, God could save you from all this. No, there's different deep ass processes within all these things. So it's not just cut and dry, and it's not so black and white. And I'm practicing the purity to, you know, be whatever everybody's saying what God is, how to get to that. This is the process. This is what's possible. It's doing it, you know, on a real balanced level within the grounded mind. But the context demon is like, it kind of blinds us to the wholeness of what else we could be and how we could transmute our context demons of ourselves. Because the context demon, on a collective level, we're all sharing the same emotions. We all could resonate to toxic shit or not, or exalt that particular part of ourselves. So somewhere along the line, we just had a casual, neutral pre-participation with that, and we followed that up, and we've always been transforming it and transmuting it. And that's our testimony to how we deal with it as it comes up, and how we, quote unquote, spiritually shield ourselves, intellectually shield ourselves, and eventually physically shield ourselves from, like, you know, emotional BS that's not ours, you know. So it's like so, like, yeah, there's a process to, like, what's being said, and, like, there's a big misunderstanding because we're caught up in the bias of our emotions. So it's like, what are you really trying to presuppose? What are you really trying to, like, what's really, like, the conclusive statement from the different types of deductive reasoning that have revealed itself to its maintain, preserve optimality? What does that mean? Deductive reasoning, going back into anything of its sequence, seeing how it was built to begin with, and seeing the purpose and the split of the polarities and the dualities, and seeing how from that stream of polarity a solution and a problem was followed up on. And within that solution and problem that we followed up on, we've lost ourselves without the solution, you know. But on one subconscious level, what makes us numb to the solution is how we're creating different narratives and party organizations, how we're upholding and resonating, you know, detrimental emotional behavior, because that's an energy network of how certain people just cater to that thing. And I'm not trying to target anybody. I'm trying to destroy race. Not destroy. I'm trying to destroy racism, not race. And it's a mental thing. It's a spirit. It's a metaphysical, spiritual thing. It's like, because I did it to raise, like, a particular type of awareness, you know. Because there's, like, you know, there's constructiveness in each race, and each race has its capability to be an anomaly and to more or less eventually transmute it in every way, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Perhaps if you're really about the real best, you know, Vedantic shit within the modernality, within how we have different memories of tapping into that, remembering it, how God more or less gives us the memory or takes it away from us, right? Because in the end, it could all be like some type of advanced hypnosis where, even though it is a lesser reality, it's real, but it's less real because it's more temporary. And since it's more temporary, that doesn't negate that this reality is all an illusion. No, there's real elements that we're partaking in. Like, there's real subtle actualities. So not for me not to get, like, too, like, you know, all, like, you know, jump around all the place. The main point of this video was, like, me realizing it, like, you know, if we're in this stage of, like, you know, tech innovation, then wouldn't, like, this rawness of this content, like, most casually, wouldn't it, like, can it be, like, edited in, like a real better way, whatever that you're thinking of, and more or less, regardless, whatever you're copying or not, most respectively and neutrally? Are you really, like, is it, like, really being, like, not necessarily just harmonically done, but is it really being, like, is it really being, like, optimalized and taken to the, like, the real, like, next step, like, and based on, like, what things are, but not necessarily, because because we're at an age of tech innovation, right? But like, I guess so it's up to us to work with what we want, particularly, you know, because if I have like a casual idea, regardless of like, you know, the copy of it, any type of copy, and I know there's different nuanced, and I know there's a different history on that, you know, particular topic, but I'm not going to speak too much on something I don't know too much about, obviously. But like, you know, the copyright industry, like there could be like, obviously there could be like layers of like how it ultimately came to be, you know, and how it ultimately came to be. There's always like something like that could like pivot from and away from a certain type of balance, you know. But because like there's like deeper contemplations of like, okay, maybe there is like, you know, obviously it could be predicated off of like, you know, trying to attempt to establish fairness, but where does it actually fall short in today's times with how it's being used, and how it could be like not necessarily like, you know, optimally fair, you know. So it's like I could have an idea, like we're in these innovative tech times, right? So like if anybody has like, you know, like detrimental criticism towards this, like why can't in the future like this like raw content be edited, you know, or like, you know, what like eventually like these like 3 past videos, it could all be like kind of like combined and like more or less kind of like ran innovatively in like a different stream of podcasts. That's where I'm going with this little chime, is like how we could like pretty much like just touch up and refine the concept that we already have. Like like that's already like eventually that's going to be a thing, you know. But the thing that makes us like not optimally do that is how, you know, we're in a subtle network that's not necessarily like tangible per se, but we're in a subtle network of how we're participating with detrimental mind states and emotions and the good grace of the secret God of all gods, preserving the secrets of all secrets and the things of all things. It's the ultimate supreme collective grace on how we have a chance to be with the exalted emotions and mind states. That's what God is preserving. How is God not preserving that? And it's not about me like, you know, saying this race is that race. It's just seeing where people are at within their own level of intelligence, and them seeing how the purpose goes over their fucking head respectively. And I have to speak like that because look at the fucking state of the world. If no one's going to do it, who's going to do it? So that's not the point with you fucking taking one little bit, analyzing it like like immature shit, like that hasn't been done in its own outdated way, and misinterpreting the shit out of it. No, it has nothing to do with any of the misinterpretations. No more misinterpretations. Realize the true essence of comprehension and application, because it's not about detrimentally misperceiving a fucking comment when like something could be transformed. Racism could be transformed. All this gender war shit could be transformed. I wrote a blog last August about it, you know, like a written verbal blog. So it's about transforming it and not fault finding. But people do that based on, because they're in a relationship and a participation with how they've just been some scarialized to participate with toxic habits and patterns, to participate with toxic samskaras and toxic mind patterns, of different types of samskaras. And obviously I understand, I'm more or less gradually understanding the nuances of Sanskrit, of how like, you know, there's different themes. There could be like different, obviously different contexts for like different themes and you know, matters of circumstance and circumstance of matters. So it's like, why fault? So the thing is, it's like, why fault find, you know, when like things, there could be like an innovative solution, you know? So what the main point of this is like, what makes the purpose go over our head and the main solution go over our head? It's because we have some sort of relationship, more or less. And I'm not trying to fault find anybody else. I'm trying to recognize why the fuck everything is happening the way it's happening. Why are we in the state? Why is the world in the state it's in that it is right now? Because there's a big collective voting party, neutral energetic voting party, which are voting to participate with toxic emotions, toxic thought patterns, and from that comes toxic actions and situations and scenarios, which create the state and the actuality and reality based on by a bigger, deeper, subtle cause and effect and cause, by us participating like 50-50 on like a, maybe like 10 years from now it will be 50-50, you know, where like, and that's an increase, you know, that's an increase because the majority of us are like participating. There's like, I feel like there's a last stand of purity in one sense. It's like Because obviously the spiritual war, this is all God's story. This is all God's illusion. This is all God's mind. This is all fake in a certain context. This is all a dream in a different, deeper context, because he's just regulating the natural algorithm on what we're following up on, and how we're more or less on a deep, different pre-aftermath level, how we're creating this reality from a different level, and we're also participating in the aftermath byproduct by participating and just being in a different material form, and how to slow down the time of it. Because the higher dimensions is the same exact thing, but the polarities are magnified respectively within my own recollection of my own dream time, because no one can really tell me shit, because everybody has spiritual experiences that could go on and off. And if it's vivid for you right now, man, may the spiritual court and law be in your favor next life, right? Because this is the neutral logistics to actually fucking maintain with whatever the fuck you're doing, with whoever's fucking judging me out of fucking pocket, out of tone, out of fucking note. That's what's happening, because you're not seeing what's preserving the harmony, and what harmony is going towards the preservation. So within that's why the state of the world is the way it's at, because people are like, we're like, battery don't die, battery don't die, better plug it in. Hey, I got a minute left anyways, plugged it in. But it's like seeing the voice in our head. It's seeing we're always in the spiritual court of law. It's seeing like, okay, that thought has already been done before. You're more outdated than you think, honey. I'm going to do this to my man. I'm going to cut off his blah, blah, blah. Bitch, you outdated, whoever projects that thought towards me, motherfucker. But anyways, we're always in the spiritual court of law. Why are we in the state we are in? And may God really perfect all this shit, all of it, beyond what we could ever fucking think of. Thank you.